What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You know who it is by now. Now, ladies and gents, we are back on the grind in a bid to improve, and as usual we are playing Unchained. Now I'm planning to actually switch up the decks sooner or later, but for the most part Unchained is a deck that I know fairly well and I'm fairly competent with, so it's going to be this deck for the next week or so, but definitely going to be changing it up going forwards, because there are a few other decks that I want to really mess around with, Heroes being one of them, which is another one of my decks that I'm quite competent with. But anyway, let's get straight into it, ladies and gents. So I'm playing, I actually don't know what deck he was actually using. It was a bit weird. He was just summoning huge beat sticks. Now we start off this play with Witch of the Black Rose, which allows him to net a draw. And obviously the draw that he nets is Chaos Space. Now I'm not too sure about the sequencing here, because it states if you draw a card, show it, then if it is not a monster, send it to the graveyard, also destroy this card. So yeah, to be fair, the sequencing was fine. So it ended up with no cards on field, but it's got a Chaos Space engraved, which is always a good thing. So I draw for turn. I draw Abominable Chamber of the Unchained, which is great. So I set that, normal summon my Aruha, and then just go straight into battle phase. I didn't really want to overcommit going into any plays. I don't know what he's playing yet, and at least if I've got a Abominable Chamber of the Unchained, I can always special summon Aruha out of the graveyard. So he draws for his turn. He goes to activate his Red Eyes Fusion, and I chain Ash Blossom because I didn't really want to deal with another Dragoons. And looking at his hand now, ladies and gents, he is actually bricked in the hardest way. There's nothing he can actually do, so I'm not even too sure what he was trying to achieve with his deck, but anyway, is what it is. So again, I played a little bit conservative because I wasn't aware of what he was playing. Someone activating a Red Eyes Fusion doesn't necessarily give away what their deck is playing. It just means they've drew a Garnet, because potentially most people are playing Predaplant, Verte, Anaconda and sending a Red Eyes Fusion off it. So I still didn't know what deck he was playing, so I thought rather than trying to pop off, I'll play a little bit more conservative, because I do have two Dark Holes in hand as well as a Gamma Seal, so I could easily wipe my opponent's board, depending on what they decide to put up. But anyway, I swing in, and then I decide to chain my Rakia to pop my Aruha, which will allow me to special summon a Abominable Unchained Soul from deck, which then allows me to again attack for 3k, leaving him on 500. So I end my turn. I still got a Abominable Chamber of the Unchained set, and he draws another Red Eyes Fusion, which is crazy. He must be playing a play set in his deck. So it activates Red Eyes Fusion, sending the Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon and a Red Eyes Dark Dragon, which actually should not make sense. So he's sent a Red Eyes Black Dragon and a Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon. I must have missed this in a match, because that does not make sense at all. He's supposed to send a Spellcaster. But anyway, obviously I wasn't paying attention to what he was doing, so I popped my Abominable Unchained Soul, fearing the Dragoon, because it would have a pop and it would burn me for 3k if he managed to pop my chamber. So he does bring out his Dragoon, which he summoned illegally because he did not use a Dark Magician. He used Blue Eyes Chaos Max and Red Eyes Black Dragon, which was a misplay on his part, but nevertheless it didn't change the outcome of the game. So he decides to swing with Dragoon, which is interesting. He decided not to use his pop effect, so I take 1500. I decide not to actually float into another card, mainly because I've got Abominable Unchained set. So I managed to draw into another Abominable Chamber of the Unchained. Now Gamma Seal his Dragoon, which gets rid of him. Then I bring back my Abominable Chamber of the Unchained Soul. I could actually use its effect to pop, but seeing as he's only on 500 life points and Gamma Seal's 2200 and Unchained Soul is 3k, I'll just swing for game. Easy as that, ladies and gents. So to be fair, when I decided to side, I don't think I did much siding, mainly because I wasn't really too sure what his deck was trying to achieve. It was kind of normal summon reliant, and it was just focused on getting out big beat sticks. So going into this game though is interesting, because it just goes to show, ladies and gents, even with a deck like what he's playing, if you don't sequence your cards correctly, you can actually do really badly, which you'll see in a moment. So he activates Manju of the 10,000 hands. I realistically should have used my Ash Blossom here, but I thought he was going to combo off, mainly because when I seen this I thought, wow, he's playing a ritual deck as well. So he searches his Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon, which is fine. Then he activates Chaos Space because he does have a Blue Eyes in hand. He actually sends one from deck, and I was a little bit confused. I was like, well, what's going on here? How did you manage to send that? But he actually got that wrong. It was a little bit of a misclick. So he sends the one from hand and manages to get his Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon on field and proceeds to pass turn. Obviously, I've got Gamma Seal in hand, so I get rid of that Chaos Max Dragon immediately. But there's not a whole lot more I can do, so I decided to set my Harpy's Feather Duster and my Core by the Grave as a bit of a bluff. And then set my Dark Spirits of Malice, mainly because I got Unchained Soul in hand, so if one of my cards gets blown up I could potentially special summon it. He actually activates Witch of the Black Rose, and then he activates manages to summon Draco, Berserker of the Tenny, linking off his Manju and his Witch of the Black Rose. He swings over my Dark Spirits of Malice, which then goes to the graveyard. I try to chain Abominable Unchained Soul. Realistically, it's not a negate, so technically, if I'm getting this correct, I should have still been able to resolve his effect, but it would have got banished regardless, because it says that it's a quick effect banished, but it doesn't negate. So technically I could have summoned him and activated its effect, because its effect activates on summon, which allows me to pop a card by discarding a card in hand. But I actually just let him banish it and just continue to play, and that actually kind of crippled me for this game, to be honest. It meant that I just managed to just swing over everything and just cause some major damage, and I couldn't really do not much. And guess what? I draw for turn, Ash Blossom. So I just conceded. There was no point in carrying on there, but in hindsight, ladies and gents, definitely an interaction that I need to note for future play. Draco, Berserker of the Tenny does not negate, it only banishes, so I potentially could have got that effect off. But anyway, going into the next play, again I decided to go second, mainly because of the cards that I've got in my deck, and I drew a absolutely crazy hand here. So he goes for a Manju once again, adding himself an Advanced Ritual Art, which is fantastic because he's actually got the cards in hand to be able to do what he's doing, I believe. So he activates Advanced Ritual Art, so he can send a monster from deck to the graveyard. So in this case, he's going to send Blue Eyes White Dragon, which will allow him to get out his Chaos Max Dragon that he has in hand. That hits the field, and then he ends his turn. No real negation, to be honest, just a big beat stick and a level 4 monster on field, which is a bit weird considering. But anyway, I decided to Kaiju his Chaos Max Dragon once again. Set a Escape of the Unchained, which is basically a pop. Normal summon my Sarama. Then I activate Dark Hole, which will just blow up the whole field, allowing my Sarama to float. So Sarama floats into a Abominable Unchained, just a big beat stick realistically, and then I just swing for game. Well, keep swinging to say swing for game. Do 3k damage and then pass turn, forgetting to send that Dark Hole to graveyard. So he passes turn once again. He actually misclicked, and what I did, ladies and gents, I said to him, go ahead, take your turn. I'll put my card back and shuffle my deck so he can actually play out his turn, because I think he pressed end phase or just end turn kind of thing, and he did have some plays available to him. So I let him go. He decides to summon his Black Luster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning. He activates its effect. I chain Chamber, Escape of the Unchained, blowing up my Abominable Unchained and blowing up his Black Luster Soldier. Because he lost its target, my Abominable Unchained Soul goes to graveyard and his Black Luster Soldier gets destroyed, which is really good. So then end phase, he comes back, and then I draw for turn. I draw evenly matched. I decide to set the evenly matched, go into Sarama, I decide to set the escape of the Unchained by popping my evenly match, which goes to graveyard. I swing with chain and Sarama, and then I pass turn. So he's on a bit of a clock. He decides to once again go for his, well, goes for a Monster Reborn, which is interesting. So Blackluster Soldier hits the field. He declares his effect. So I decide to chain my Escape of the Unchained, because he actually targeted my Abominable Unchained Soul, which was fine. So that gets banished, but it doesn't really make a difference because my Sarama can float into another monster because it was destroyed. I decide to go into Unchained Soul of Disaster. He pitches his other Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the Beginning to the graveyard to activate a Chaos Space, which I'm not too sure why you would do that, especially as you could have summoned it, because it wasn't properly summoned that turn. It was actually Monster Reborn, which hey ho, it is what it is. So he puts his Blackluster Soldier back on top of his deck, which it should have went to the bottom. And then he gets a draw, and he actually draws into Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, which is probably not what you wanted to see. But anyway, I turn my Unchained Soul of Disaster to attack mode, and if you didn't know, ladies and gents, Unchained Soul of Disaster actually gains 300 attack for each Unchained card in the graveyard. So I believe I had Sarama, and well, I had Sarama actually. Unchained, each Unchained card in your graveyard, yeah, so it was 600 and he was only on 500 life points. So basically I attack for game. And that is it, ladies and gents. A swift game indeed. A very weird actually. I'm just not too sure what he was trying to achieve with his deck, but hey ho, it is what it is. I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. And we shall continue the grind, ladies and gents. Well, we find ourselves at the end of another video. As always, if you did enjoy this content, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I will definitely see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.